Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we'll start off our episode by talking about the newly announced Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra story. So this game itself, well, features, as you might know, Captain America and Black Panther in the year 1943. So yeah, in terms of gameplay, there was nothing that was shown thus far, but there was a cinematic that was shown and it is looking pretty good. Yeah, the cinematic itself really gives off the olden World War vibes, and yeah, so far, based on the graphics and everything, it looks pretty good, but we would have to see the gameplay to judge more. And I would say, in terms of the game itself, it's gonna take a pretty long while because the game is supposed to arrive next year 2025 with no exact date yet. For now, I'm just gonna say that it looks interesting, but we would need to see more footage to actually judge whether or not it'll be a good game that you might want to pay attention to. Then next, we're going to talk about a rather interesting game that is going to launch sometime later this year on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC, and that game is Squirrel with a Gun. So yes, we have moved on from goat simulators to a squirrel simulator, but the squirrel's holding a gun. Yeah. So if you're into goat simulators and the duck game, I guess this game would be perfect for you. And yeah, there's really just not much to say about it. It's basically Goat Simulator, but you're playing as a squirrel and you have a gun. But the one cool thing is David Attenborough actually narrates the thing, so yeah, that's a pretty cool bit. But aside from that, you're basically just a squirrel with a gun. Next, we're gonna talk about Power World. So Power World is getting their first new pile called Belanir and a brand new raid battle. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how they're gonna set up the raid battles because the boss battles in the game itself aren't that difficult that you need to have multiple players, and I do hope that the raid battles are actually challenging with maybe like the raid battles having different phases and stuff like that to actually make it feel like a more multiplayer S type of game. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how it's gonna work, and let's hope that they gain more experience from this and create like really challenging and fun raid battles in the future. Then next, we're gonna talk about Hearthstone. So Hearthstone recently just dropped their 10th anniversary expansion called Whizbang's Workshop. So with Whizbang's Workshop being their 10th anniversary expansion, there are some really cool cards that are coming back. For example, you have Whizbang for one. You have Yoxaron coming back. You have Shadowwalk. Zilax is coming back as well. So yeah, a couple of really old but key cards that made up the entire Hearthstone history. So if you've not played Hearthstone for like a good amount of time, I would say right now is a pretty good time to go back because for one, Hearthstone actually has a catch-up pack mechanic whereby instead of buying packs one by one, you can actually buy like a pack that includes like I guess if I recall correctly around 200ish cards from all the previous sets. So yeah, it's a good way for you to come back as an old player and basically enjoy this brand new expansion that they have. And of course, you're bound to get some pretty cool stuff as rewards. So yeah, I highly suggest actually checking out the expansion, and you might find that Hearthstone is back to being a pretty decent game. Well, if you're not interested in Blizzard games, but instead you are a Riot fan, TFT is releasing their brand new set as well. So their brand new set 11, Inkborn Fables, has just been released with a ton of new traits, as well as some new characters that are being featured for the first time. For example, Hui, as well as a unique character called Alun. So yeah, there are a couple of really cool new mechanics that if you have not played TFT for a good bit, I highly suggest checking it out because the game is pretty different with this brand new set. Moving on, we're going to talk about Microsoft. So, Microsoft has confirmed that there will be new waves of games coming to Game Pass in late March and early April. These games being Lightyear Frontier, available right now, Evil West, available also right now, Terra Invicta, available 26th of March, Diablo 4, available 28th of March. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, also available on 28th of March. Open Roads, available again on the 28th of March. Then we have Ark Survival Ascended, available on 1st of April. And lastly, we have Super Hot Mind Control Delete, available on the 2nd of April. So if any of these games do interest you, I highly suggest getting the Game Pass and actually checking it out. So yeah, that more or less covers the news that we have for this week. Next, I'm gonna talk about some games that you can get your hands on right now. Starting off with Princess Peach Showtime, available on Switch. So Princess Peach Showtime, as you might figure out, is basically featuring, well, Peach. And it's basically her new solo game like Luigi's Mansion, but the difference about Princess Peach Showtime is that, unlike Luigi's Mansion, it's more akin to a Kirby game, transforming into various different outfits and gaining various unique abilities to clear the stages. So yeah, kind of like Kirby. And based on the gameplay that has been shown thus far, it actually seems pretty fun. And there are a couple of really cool forms, ranging from like her being a fencer, her being a figure skater, a mermaid, a couple of really unique and interesting forms. If you are interested in the Mario universe and just want to play a relatively fun and cheerful game, then yeah, I highly suggest checking Princess Peach Showtime out. Then next, we're going to talk about Horizon Forbidden West, available on PC right now. Horizon Forbidden West, that previously was a PlayStation exclusive, has now been released on PC, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's a great game, and if you've never played it before, I highly suggest checking it out because Sony has released some decent bangers over the past few years, and generally, most of the time, PlayStation exclusive are bangers, so yeah, highly suggest to check Horizon Forbidden West out. Then next, we have Dragon's Dogma 2, available on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, as well as on PC. So when it comes to Dragon's Dogma, I don't know too much about it personally because I have not played it, but what I have seen so far is people have been raving about the character customization. Because apparently the character customization is pretty insane. You can do a ton of stuff on it. So yeah, if character customization is your thing and you are highly addicted to it, I suggest you to check it out. If you're not into customization, it doesn't matter because Dragon's Dogma 2 is actually a really good action RPG game. Well, if you like Souls games but fantasy ain't your cup of tea, then guess what? This next title might just be for you, and that title is Rise of Ronin, available only on the PS5. So Rise of the Ronin is basically kinda like Sekiro, I guess, just that unlike Sekiro, you actually have quite a few different type of combat styles, and the one thing that I dread the most, which is gear score. Yep, this game features gear score, and I do not like that one bit because I do not like min-maxing for the sake of my sanity. So yeah, but if that's your type of thing, then I guess props to you, and you would actually very much probably enjoy Rise of the Ronin. But if you do not like Souls type of games and all the previous games that I mentioned earlier are not your cup of tea, then I have one last title for you, and that is Alone in the Dark. So Alone in the Dark will be available on PC, PS5, Xbox Series S and X. And Alone in the Dark is something similar to Resident Evil, and basically you have an option of playing two different characters. So in this case, it's more similar to Resident Evil 2, where you can pick either Leon or Claire. So unlike Resident Evil, whereby it's more focused on survival and you dealing with zombies, Alone in the Dark, while having zombie-like creatures, it's more focused on the mystery aspect and the puzzle solving aspect. So yeah, it's generally not as action intensive as compared to Resident Evil. Granted, Resident Evil doesn't exactly have that much action, but yeah, it's more mystery based, I guess. So if you are looking for a more horror, survival, puzzle solving type of game, then I highly suggest checking out Alone in the Dark. And that's all we have for releases of the week. Now let's move on to our last and final segment, free games. So this week, Epic Games Store is giving out Call of the Wild, The Angler, as well as Invincible presents Atom Eve. So be sure to claim these two games before it's gone for good. And with that marks the end of our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host Ming, and we hope to see you again next week on another episode of Game Things.